Good morning, folks. This is Deb. Throughout this entire 10-year cycle of Donald Trump dominating the political scene, we have been told by the mainstream media and, you know, social media talking heads that we can't call him a fascist. That's a lie. And I'm going to tell you why we can and we should call him a fascist. Let's start with the 14 characteristics of fascism one by one. Number one, powerful and continuing nationalism. We see that every day from them. They wave the flag. They want to make America great again, right? We have a guy that drives up and down my street in Woburn, where I work, who has an American flag stuck on one side of his truck and a Trump flag stuck on the other. We're going to make America great again. And for the people in the GOP, right next to the American flag pin in their lapel is their AR-15 pin. Number two, disdain for the recognition of human rights. Donald Trump and his administration have absolutely no respect for women's rights, immigrant rights, the LGBTQ plus community. In fact, Donald Trump's administration doesn't care about anybody's rights unless they are white, straight, and male. That is something that cannot be denied at this point. Okay? Identification of enemies and scapegoats as a unifying cause. Ethnic or religious minorities, liberals, socialists, etc., etc. Let's take a look at the end of this campaign where Donald Trump spent millions of dollars completely lying about the transgender community, a group of people who represent under 1% of the US population, and yet he has managed to unify people around false accusations. That's what fascists do. Supremacy of the military. Yeah, he does call veterans who have been injured in war, who have died, suckers and losers, but he is by no means against using the military to oppress people, and has said that he will use the military to round up immigrants and deport them. And he pretends, by the way, to be a friend to veterans. He does not give a shit about veterans. Number five, rampant sexism. Well, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? We've overturned Roe v. Wade. Now we're going after contraception. We're going to go after no-fault divorce so women can stay in unhappy and abusive relationships. The other areas where this is evident, traditional gender roles are made more rigid. Opposition to abortion is high, as is homophobia and anti-gay legislation and national policy. That's a fact. He's done all of that. Control of the mass media. While the media in this country is not necessarily controlled by the government, the media is indirectly controlled by sympathetic media spokespeople and executives. Just think Fox News and OAN. Okay, and all of the talking heads out there on social media. Obsession with national security. Every day, the immigrants are poisoning the blood of our land. They are criminals and rapists who are endangering our nation. Religion and government are intertwined. There is absolutely no question that Donald Trump has surrounded himself with Christian nationalists, and he has been pandering to Christian nationalists to get his way. In Texas right now, they have just approved Bible study for public school students from kindergarten through, I believe it's the 5th grade. That, my friends, should never see the light of day in an American classroom. That should wind up in court somewhere, okay? That cannot be allowed to stand. That is an infringement of your First Amendment rights. Corporate power is protected, and it certainly is. In this case, Donald Trump has surrounded himself with corporate entities and billionaires, okay, who will reap the benefit as they screw over the American people. Donald Trump is not a friend to labor, which brings us to number 10. Labor power is suppressed. Donald Trump is a fraud when it comes to being on the side of the common man, the working class. He is not on the side of the working class. He, in his own personal business, has stiffed thousands of small businesses that have done work for him, okay? And right now, by the way, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and the guy that owns Trader Joe's, and I can't remember his name, and I really don't care to remember it, is in the process of trying to get the National Labor Relations Board declared unconstitutional, even though it was declared constitutional in 1937. And Donald Trump will sit by and allow that to happen. You will find out the hard way now that you chose to believe him, that he is not a friend to labor. Disdain for intellectuals in the arts. We see that every day with Donald Trump, every single day, particularly when it comes to, oh, I don't know, drag shows, which actually have existed since 1388 and which have been going on in America since the 1920s. It started in Harlem. Okay, this is an entertainment, my friends. This is an entertainment feature. It is not real life. And yet it has become a flashpoint for the accusation that drag show queens are grooming your children. We're going to talk about who's grooming your children in the next video. It is certainly not drag show queens. Obsession with crime and punishment. Yeah, that's a given here. We'll see just exactly how bad police brutality can be over the next 4 years, particularly since Donald Trump's prescription for controlling crime is, allowing the police to run themselves rampant for a day to show the American people that they mean business. That was a statement he made on the campaign trail. Number 13, rampant cronyism and corruption. We've already seen that in his first administration when he elevated his daughter and son-in-law to the highest echelons of his administration with absolutely no qualifications. And then they reaped the benefit of that position by making himself $640 million while he was president. You're not supposed to be doing that while you are in the White House. But that didn't stop Donald Trump either, who violated every possible aspect of the emoluments clause. And he will do so again now. And he's got himself surrounded again by billionaires like Elon Musk, who are going to set the tone of this government. Fraudulent elections. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I know there are people out there saying that the elections were stolen by Donald Trump, that this election was stolen by Donald Trump. And I'm not going to even touch that until I see forensic evidence, and there is none right now. Statements by Vladimir Putin are not evidence, okay? And a letter from an expert, okay, in computer sciences is not evidence, all right? It's a letter from a computer expert. I'm talking about real forensic evidence, but there are ways that elections can be affected and swayed and stolen that do not involve invasive technologies. For example, we already know, and we were warned by the FBI, that China, Russia, and Iran were spreading misinformation during this election, okay? They used legislation to control voting numbers. They do that by redistricting, okay? They tried that several times in several states. We won some for democracy. We lost some for democracy. Those kinds of things also affect the election and can make them fraudulent, okay? Manipulation of the media is another way. And the media manipulated the voters throughout this entire campaign. Fascist nations also typically use their judiciaries to manipulate or control elections. And that has been done also. They wanted to remove Donald Trump from the ballot in several states, and the Supreme Court put him back on, even though he did violate clearly the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. That's how elections are made fraudulent. Donald Trump should not have been allowed on the ballot. So that's where we are. He hits every single one of the 14 points. So you know what? When people tell you you can't call him a fascist, that's a flat out lie. Donald Trump and the people who are supporting him now in this second term are all fascists, and they need to be called out as fascists, even though the media doesn't have the courage to do so. I will talk to you all later.